What is up, Bolt fam? We are back for our Week 12 preview, and we're going to talk about Week 11 just a little bit after this short commercial break. If you guys haven't already, please subscribe, like the video, check out our channel. This is all Chargers talk all day long, and I'm joined with my co-host, fellow Chargers fan, Tony Tucker. Tony, how have you been this week?
I've been amazing. Hope everybody who's watching this had a outstanding Thanksgiving. Ate tremendous stuff. I had something new, Mike, from Thanksgiving that I think needs to become a staple, and that was that somebody made potato salad with, they put in a little bit of pickled eggs, but they were pickled in jalapeno juice. Yeah, it was really good. It was like a zesty, kind of a spicy potato salad that they made. Yeah, I ate so good, so much. The mac and cheese was tremendous again. A little crunchy on top, but like cheesy and delicious. And yeah, I already had one leftover, one turkey sandwich today. I feel really good about that. So I'm in great spirits. I hope everybody is happy and safe and enjoying their holiday, their weekend. How about you, Mike? Anything good happened to you? Great Thanksgiving. How was your Thanksgiving?
Dinner was great also. My mom made cherry cheesecake, which she only usually makes once a year, but made it twice a year. Trying to make me feel better because I dislocated my knee yesterday morning. I was playing a turkey bowl, Tony, and I fell and broke my leg. I already told you the story. Told everyone the story. My leg is not actually broken, by the way. It's a dislocated knee. I had the same injury Mahomes had a couple of years ago. And like Mahomes, hopefully I come back strong and win a Super Bowl this year, baby.
I like that you have the crutch. It looks like a prop. Like there's no other place that you could have had it, but I'm just going to leave it there so everybody knows that this
is a little... Oh, you can still see it.
Yeah, it's a little bit more legitimate with the crutch in the background.
This is actually a pretty good idea for a prop. It's accidentally placed here, but now that it's there, I think that's a good spot for it to stay. Like while I record all my TikTok videos and I do all my lives and everything.
Yeah, I kept all my crutches for props. I got an old sling. I got the walking boot, but I still need that once in a while.
You know how many messages and comments I've gotten, Tony, that the injury bug has now spread to the Chargers fan base?
Say it again?
The injury bug has made its way to the Chargers fan base.
Oh yes. I bet. These effing trolls. Just no compassion. Yeah, here's another thing real quick. Athir, what's up, brother? I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. Questions are always welcome. We're sorry we missed last week's show, scheduling conflicts. But here's something I got to teach my nephew about karma yesterday, Mike. We're watching Thanksgiving fantasy football. Mm-hmm. His guy is not in the game, and he wants him in the game, but the other guy's in the game, and so he's rooting for injury. He's like, come on. He's like, just sprain your ankle. Just come on. Just twist your ankle, man. He's like, just let my guy get more touches, more action in the game. And then his guy got injured. And he was like, what? Man. And it's like, here's a good lesson about why we don't wish injuries. He's like, I didn't want him to get like a serious injury. He's like, I just want him to share. And I go, he's got to earn it. And he needs to be a bigger part of the game. It was fun. It's one of those things where, like, I'm sure at some point when I was 10 years old, I was probably had a similar thought. Like, yeah, this guy just falls down and can't get up.
Someone has to correct you just like you corrected him. Did you also teach him about the commentator curse that Jim Nantz and Tony Romo decided to bestow upon our beautiful Michael Badgley, who has made every kick this year, by the way, as a Detroit Lion until this game?
Holy shit. Was that just like on cue what you want to happen in that moment? Like you just want him to eat his words if you're a Bills fan. And sure enough,
29 field goal, man. Anyways, we're going to talk about last week's game briefly, and then we're going to get into our keys to victories. And I got the injury report pulled up in the background for y'all that I can read off for some injuries. We do have some guys that are going to be out again this week. Big shocker, everyone. Nothing's new, though. Tony, takeaways from last week's game. Chargers come out. They played their asses off, but doesn't really count in the AFC West right now. You got to win games. Playing your ass off doesn't really count.
I think let's take a Thier's comment here because I think it's going to kind of tie into some of the stuff I'd like to talk about. So everyone wants to talk trash about Coach Staley. How many times Mahomes bring back his team in the fourth quarter? It's time to admit he's a bad man. No questions there, Thier. Patrick Mahomes is, probably the best quarterback playing football right now. But I still will not take Herbert over no one. So he's saying, I think he's saying he would take Herbert over anybody, no matter how great Patrick Mahomes is, right? To me, this is not like them losing that game, Mike, and the way you set it up is it doesn't matter. You play hard. You have to get division wins, and you have to beat the Chiefs. Going into this year, when we were doing the preseason stuff, everybody kept saying, well, I'm a little bit more worried about the Broncos, or the Raiders really beefed up with Devontae Adams. And I just kept saying to everybody, the team that you should fear is the team with the most consistency and the best coach. And that is still the Chiefs and Andy Reid. It's not going to go away. We play in a league where you just need a couple of little beneficial things to bounce your way that could be calls or turnovers. And in this case, it was two of them. You have Kelsey tied up with Derwin James the whole game doing everything. And then they wait to call that penalty on Derwin in the final 2 minutes of the game. I don't understand why the play is called like that. I don't disagree that it was a penalty, but why wasn't it called earlier in the game when the same things were happening? And then on the other side, if you're going to call that, then why wasn't the penalty called on MVS? If you are going to start calling a tighter game and teams and players are getting a little pushy and handsy, then there needs to be a little consistency there. The thing with Staley, to me, is that there's no consistency in this tough, rugged, aggressive speech that he's always talking about. There were many moments in this game where I didn't want him going for it on fourth downs and stuff like that, but that doesn't mean that there couldn't be transitions or more moments of being aggressive in those moments, or just being super aggressive where it's we're just going to outright, everybody's going to man coverage and Derwin James and Travis Kelce's getting triple teamed. And Patrick Mahomes might be able to escape and run for a 15-yard first down or something crazy like that. But to me, it doesn't. Staley does not matter one way or the other because he's not done anything where I'm he seems like a tremendous human being and father and husband, and everybody on the team seems to like him. I just never feel this guy is going to make the move or the decision or whatever to make the team better. It just doesn't happen. The defense is still getting crushed. It's still 29th. I know there's injuries and we talk about blown assignments and whatever else, but how come everybody else seems to be simplifying their defense the more injuries they gain, and we seem to continue running out defenses where there's multiple breakdowns in what's supposed to be happening in the defense. And all these people know more than I do, but I just keep hearing even a guy like D'Amico Ryans go, you know what? We had to go super simple. We had injuries and we were getting beat, and what we were trying to do wasn't working out. So we were just trying to keep everything in front of us. And then sure enough, the biggest adjustment that Coach Staley won't make, this is the last thing I'll say, is he won't move away from Joe Lombardi. And Justin Herbert, the offense is going to look so much different under really anybody else. Shane Day, who's ever in there next year, it doesn't matter. I just refuse to believe that somebody that we can see be so dynamic can then go 2 back-to-back halves of a football game and score 7 points. I'm not buying any of it. That's all bullshit to me. It's not it's just on the function. And I listened to his thing, and he's like, well, I could point to things and reasons why we didn't get, this one didn't convert. We just got to convert better. It's like, we might convert better, or we might have better chances to convert better if you would stop getting so conservative in the second half of the football game, or conservative at the beginning of the game. Stop being conservative in the first half or the second half. It doesn't matter. Just don't be conservative with Justin Herbert.
You got a great example on the other sideline as well. It's coming out and showing you how you should call an offense. And I know Mahomes and Herbert are different players with different skill sets, but the way they let Mahomes be himself, they let Mahomes find his strengths, and they let Mahomes, improve his game and kind of control this offense entirely, it empowers the quarterback. And now you can do so much more with him when he is on the same page, feeling empowered in your offense as Mahomes is with Andy Reid. But yeah, the thing about, the second half struggles, this has been a thing since Staley's reign has started. And me and you have talked about it, and they keep proving us right week after week. It's halftime adjustments. They're getting out halftime adjusted, whatever you want to call it. Every time we go into the locker room at halftime, if we don't have a lead, if we do have a lead, it does not matter. They come out in the third quarter and they get beat. And whoever they're going against makes better adjustments at halftime, no matter who it is, from the freaking Kansas City Chiefs to the Houston fucking Texans. In the second half, we get outcoached. Whatever adjustments other teams are putting on us, we don't have an answer for that. And that's coaching. It doesn't make sense that a quarterback goes from 200 yards in that first half to as much as we struggle in the second half against the same secondary with the same players. It doesn't make any sense.
I just want to say something real quick. I'm starting to think that teams they're beating us so bad in the run early on in some of these games that they're actually being like, shit, we got to save some of these attempts for our running backs in the second half. If we do have a chance to run this game out and it's close, we can't have them carrying the ball 30 times in the first half, even though we're getting 7 yards a clip running the ball on these plays. They're just like, they're going to a less efficient manner, which is the pass game with some of and it's like, wait, you realize that if you just keep running the ball, like it's going to go in this fashion. I think against the 49ers might have been one of the lowest run totals of the year that wasn't the Broncos, which their offense is. I'm sorry, nobody gets credit for shutting down the Broncos this year because the Raiders have now done it twice, and they have one of the worst defenses in the league. So in my estimation, nobody gets credit for that. But 150, 157 against the 49ers or whatever it was, Mike, like that's the best. They're just saying like, hey, we got to save some of these touches so we can continue to run the clock out late in the second half of the game.
And something that really irked me is right before halftime, not scoring not scoring a touchdown on that possession. When we went to the locker room, I looked at Jay and I said, those 3 points don't fucking mean shit. They don't mean a damn thing, man, because we're playing against them. This is not a game that you're playing passive. And we've seen it in previous games where we've been 1 yard away, one conversion away from beating them. And in this situation, it happens again. You're on the 1 yard line. In previous years, Staley has died on the hill that he's going to be aggressive in this situation. And now you're in a situation where you're going to get the ball after halftime. It makes sense to be aggressive. And he's not aggressive. And, of course, we come out of halftime super slow also. Those 2 drives, being held to 3 right before half, and I think it was a 3 and out, or maybe it was 1 first down and out in the opening drive to the second half. Those 2 drives, we could have put that game out of reach. And we could have kept them away from that damn rushing game. They had like 100 yards rushing in the second half.
Yeah, and that's to start the second half, they get a first down, and then the first play on that second set of downs on that, they get like 8 yards. It's like an Eckler run for 8 yards, and then they miss block and they lose like 7 yards on the play, and then there's a penalty, and all of a sudden it's like 3rd and 13 or 3rd and 14 or something. It's like, what just happened? But my thing is that when you get to the 1 yard line and you have Sony Michel still on the roster, who seems to be the only thing that he is good for is getting 1 to 2 yards, and you have Austin Eckler, who's second in the league in touchdowns. He's scoring at he's scoring inside the 2 yard line better than Marshawn Lynch ever did. Are you kidding me? And we run a sweet pitch to the outside It's not like we're pulling Trent Williams is going out there to lead the block. We have injured Trey Pipkins that we don't want moving lateral. We want to limit the amount of activity we're putting on his body. And we do this ugly, horrible play, which then puts us at like 7 yards. And I had somebody reach out to me and go, well, this kind of gives Herbert more room. Shut up with that. I don't want to hear a negative play from the 1 yard line. I don't find positives in that. It's not like, oh, well, now Keenan has more room to operate. Miss me with it because I don't want to hear it. The play should have been a QB sneak. It should have been Sony Michel dive up the middle, Xander Horvath over the top, Austin Eckler, 20, what does he have? 31 touchdowns in the last
year and a half.
20 something ball games. The dude's got 31 touchdowns and we pitch the ball to him.
It's terrible. Like you're asking to get stopped. It's like you're asking to get stopped. And even if that play fails, it still is kind of successful. For one, you have another play and another play and another play from the 1 freaking yard line still to go. For two, if it gets stuffed, they're running the clock down so Mahomes doesn't get a chance before halftime to sneak a field goal in there also. So run the power play, fullback dive, hand off directly to Eckler, Sony Michel, something downhill where if they lose yardage, they lost half a yard at the maximum. I don't care. This is a place to run in Madden all the time with Justin Herbert. I would pull out 5 wide, and I would just run a QB draw straight up the middle once I spread the whole defense out, and it works. It's Madden. It's that simple, man. Come on. We're on the 1 yard line. We have to score a touchdown against the Chiefs from the 1 yard line. The Chiefs will always score a touchdown against us from the 1 yard line. I promise you that.
Mike, no lie. If I was the offensive coordinator, I would be calling that play with Josh Allen, with Justin Herbert, with Patrick Mahomes. Every time I was inside the 3 yard line, let's say, I would at least one time go 4 or 5 wide, and I would thin that herd out the best that I could. And I would say, if anything presents itself to you, go for it. Yeah.
And most of those guys will score in that situation.
Yes.
They may take one hit. They may take a lick at the goal line, but it's worth it for the touchdown. Athir saying Coach Staley will not get fired. I believe we're going completely new offensive staff next year. So I will say this, and let's talk about this real quick, Tony, before we go on to this Cardinals game. We're going to have to hurry a little bit, but we got it. Spanos gives him 1 more year. I will say this. I do think it's rumors, and it's probably mostly coming out of Sean Payton's camp. I do think that if that opportunity presents itself and the Chargers do, in fact, miss the playoffs, there is a little bit more heat on both the GM and the coach. And I could see what Athir's saying, that Tom Telesco may want to keep Staley for 1 more year if it's his decision. But I'm starting to think that it might not be his decision to make.
Telesco's decision?
Yeah, it might be someone else who gets hired and brought in, or a Sean Payton who wants to be a coach and GM type situation.
Yeah, I think it would be tough. Although I think Tom's kind of earned respect in the league. He's drafted decently, fairly well, right? You know, like I'd say there's every GM has misses, but he's hit a lot of home runs. If they don't finish with an above 500 record, like let's say the wheels completely fall off, I think Staley gets fired.
Yeah.
Because you can't have, just looking at the remaining schedule, you can't have a losing record with Herbert at quarterback. I don't care about all the injuries. Like you found a way, the team found a way to get to the point where you were 5-3 and in the playoffs at about the midway point of the year. He fell apart in the second half. And again, last year, it was like, well, we caught the injury bug and we caught the COVID bug and we went and got our tails kicked by the Texans and stuff like that. It's like, okay, you also lost to the Raiders in the final week of the season on a team that did not belong on the field with that Chargers team at all and got way behind.
We were mostly healthy for that game, too. We were down Derwin. That's it. Mostly healthy for that game.
For which game?
The Raider game at the end. Like, what's the excuse on that one?
Derwin didn't play in the Raider game?
I thought that he didn't play it. He could have. I know he didn't play a couple weeks before against the Chiefs.
He didn't play in the Texans game, and he got injured in the Chiefs game. That's when we had the big lead on the Chiefs, And then he went out, and Travis Kelce went nuts. But I
we had everyone and still lost that game. And yeah, you can say injury bug, you can say COVID, you can say whatever you want to say. I feel like the last 2 games, the players have put their hearts into the games, and the players have given us an opportunity to win. Whatever's happened has happened, and whatever's gone wrong has gone wrong. But you can't ask more of 10. You can't really ask more. Like 13 fumbles, fumbles a ball that was like so close to not being a fumble, by the way, like literally centimeters away from not being a fumble. You got to possess the ball through the catch and stand up with it, but it was this close to not even being a fumble. But 13 played his ass off in that game, and he was playing in a limited fashion.
Yeah, it was.
What more does Staley need in order to turn them into wins? I don't know. I can't give you that answer.
Yeah, so you can't. It's weird because what happens is we measure the first season against what our expectations are. And as fans, I think our expectations are a little unrealistic sometimes, right? Our expectations for this year were even greater. But if we're looking at what we can measure against what he had last year, the additions they made into year 2, the presumed jump that Herbert should be taking, even though he had the rib cartilage injury, things aren't lining up where the team is actually ascending. It's like the team is actually plateauing under his leadership. Injuries, whatever, doesn't matter what it is. It's not going in a direction where you're like, oh, okay, I see a world in which the team is successful if everybody stays healthy. And that's not how the NFL works.
Nope.
That is not. You could talk to a Chiefs fan, they could be like, oh, you want to complain about injuries? Patrick Mahomes was throwing to Sky Moore, a rookie who came into the game with like 9 catches. That was his number 1 wide receiver in the game. It was like MVS, who's dropping balls and can only get open when he's pushing off. He didn't have Hardman. He didn't have the newly acquired Kadarius Toney. There's no more Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Like, you have to come up and be more creative and stop him. And Staley goes to the thing, he's like, we couldn't get there with pressure. Sure, we couldn't get there with 4, but when we sent more and we actually did pressure, we were hitting him in the first half. Derwin James had a sack in the game. So continue that. Continue doing things where you're adding pressure to him. Because if you're going to let him sit back there and you're going to ask those guys to play coverage for 5-6 seconds on some of those plays, Patrick's going to destroy you. Any quarterback's going to destroy you in that.
Especially with the O-line. They have a good O-line too. So, and you're down Joey Bosa. So it's not like you have the line to chase after him. There's a big difference in pressure last time we played them. We lost in that game also. But we lost that game, and we were getting a lot of pressure on them. And I feel like you make a game plan, and you live or die with it. You either go after this man or you don't. You sit back and take your chances covering, or you get aggressive and come to the line of scrimmage and say, we aren't going to give it to you easy, and you may take a huge hit to get this pass off, especially on like 3rd and 17, 3rd and 20. Those situations, we cannot let him stand there for 5 seconds. We cannot leave Travis Kelce in single coverage. We cannot give up those for first downs. They're so painful. We got another mobile quarterback this week. This is a good transition to go into it, I think, Tony. My boys, what's up? Oh, Joker in the house. Hello. I'm feeling better. He's saying, is it bad that he wants us to lose to do some firing? Yeah, I mean, it's a weird situation, Joker, where it's like we have to win the next 2 games. If we don't win the next 2 games, then this is becoming a reality. The key for us, Arizona, is we need to score a touchdown. We're going to talk about keys here in a second, Athir. So save that thought. But I'm going to go over the injury report for you guys real quick. On our side of the ball, Nasir Adderley is doubtful to play in this game. We're probably going to see Alohi Gilman. He's dealing with a thumb injury. Keenan Allen, hamstring, is on the injury report, but full practice all week. Love to see that. He played just under 60% of snaps last week. Should go up to 80 maybe this week. I don't know what the pitch count's going to be for him, but just having him on the field more is going to help out Herbert a ton. Bryce Callahan saw some limited practices earlier in the week with a groin injury, but he looks like he's good to go. Same thing with Gerald Everett. Missed some practice early in the week, but he's been in full practice the last 2 days. Khalil Mack, only thing he's dealing with is rest. Kenneth Murray's on here with the neck injury, but he's a full practice all week, which I'm good. I'm happy to see. A little bit of a scary injury there. Trey Pipkins, full practice on the knee. He should be back out there. Jamari Sawyer, full practices on the knee. He's going to be good to go. Our punter got a little banged up, dealing with the right quad injury. I've never seen so many kickers get hurt in a single season for a team before. Full practice on Friday and Thursday, so he's good to go. Mike Williams has been ruled out with the ankle. Staley says progressing nicely. I just assume it's the opposite of whatever Staley says when it comes to these injuries. Michael Davis dealing with a knee. He's questionable for this game, but he did practice in limited fashion Thursday, Friday. That's big because if we need a bigger corner to put on their guy, that's probably the guy. For them, the Cardinals, Zach Ertz obviously is done for the season with a knee injury. A big one, in my opinion at least, is Greg Dortch. He's kind of like that sneaky third receiver that they have that people forget about a lot. Did not practice all week, including today, and he's questionable for this game. When you don't practice all 3 days, it's unlikely he's probably going to play in the game. DJ Humphries, one of their tackles, he did not practice all week, and he has been ruled out. Rondell Moore did not practice all week. He has been ruled out. Byron Murphy, who was their cornerback one, he is also ruled out of this game already. And Charles Washington, who is a depth safety dealing with a chest injury, he has been ruled out as well. Their backup quarterbacks, both Colt McCoy and Trace McSorley, were questionable earlier in the week. They're both – oh, no, McSorley is still questionable, and Colt McCoy is set to play. All right, that's the injury report, Tony. Biggest takeaways to me, Byron Murphy, he's not the best corner in the league, but that just brings them down a notch on their depth chart, and you know, someone's going to have to step up and guard Keenan Allen on our side. And Greg Dortch. Greg Dortch is that guy you focus on D-Hop. You focus on Zach Ertz, who's out now. You focus on stopping Kyler in the run game, and then Greg Dortch torches you. You count him. He's a skilled football player.
So watching the Cardinals, it's like the reason that Dortch was doing as well as he was the intermediate, like the 4 and 5 yard passes. The offense has just been so boring this year that he was able to thrive there. I believe Hollywood's being activated, right? Have you seen that report?
I think Hollywood is getting activated. I'm not sure his capability as far as being out there 100% snaps, but I think he's coming back.
So I think that does add another wrinkle, you know. To me, the thing that I'm hoping for is that there's a little bit of continued struggling of continuity with this team because they've struggled so much. Excuse me, with like just getting out there and all being on the same page and operating a game plan and finding a way to do that. On the other side, I think we all knew Mike Williams wasn't going to play. It doesn't, like, if he wants to be rosy and jolly, Staley wants to be there and be like, well, he's progressing nicely. The dude tried to come back in a big spot and be there for his teammates and then makes an amazing catch on the sidelines, is able to – the fact that he could even flex his foot out like that to get his toe down right there, that's just insane. So it was – I love to see the heart. I hope that just didn't make it like closer to 6 weeks of missed time, right? Because he missed 2 games, and then he's going to miss a third, technically a 4th game. Now all of a sudden, is he going to miss next week versus the Raiders and potentially the week after that? Now it's like maybe he shouldn't have come back against the Chiefs. You know, like, again, I tell you all the time, I am always erring on the side of caution unless the game is win or go home. Yeah. I just think that you should be able to get out there and say, hey, this is what we have. This is how we're going to build a game plan that's successful with what we have. And everybody, our defense and our offensive play calling seem to be so stubborn that we don't ever make adjustments either way. It's not like, hey, we didn't have Keenan or Mike for a couple of weeks. Let's go run heavy this week. Let's go 3 tight end packages and let's play action out of this. We didn't do any of that shit. We didn't do anything that like Bill Belichick would have done. You know, like Belichick's like, hey, we're going up there. I got Mac Jones. This dude, you know, he can't throw 50 yards with the wind at his back. So I'm going to run the ball 48 times and pass it 3 times. And I'm going to get the win in Buffalo. You can only play with what you have. And he's playing with this like idealistic, perfect world scenario every single week on both sides. And it just ends up being mediocre 500 football.
Like last year. And yeah, when you see how Josh Palmer played in that game, it really makes you think, should Mike Williams have sat another week? It really does, because it doesn't even seem like Mike. Not that, I mean, Mike would have been a huge help. Maybe we win the game if Mike's able to play in the game. But it didn't seem like we lose if Mike Williams isn't on the field. Guaranteed, lock it in.
Mike, this is. I almost called you after that game to bitch about this. They were able to use Palmer differently because Keenan was back. And they were trying to use Palmer like they used Keenan. Instead of taking slow-ass Michael Bandy and using him like they would use Keenan and allowing Palmer to continue to do work, a bigger, faster, stronger body on the outside. And it's like, oh, wait. Now that Keenan's back, we can send Josh Palmer deep down the field. We can have him more working outside. Why wasn't that the case? I looked at it. I was like, here you go. Another reason. I'll just throw that in the pile of reasons why I would like to see Lombardi coaching somewhere else. I don't want Lombardi to be unemployed. I just want him to go be an offensive coordinator just for another team.
Where was it all year, right? Where was it all year? And I think exactly what you're saying is exactly right. It's almost a perfect explanation and proving your point that Lombardi is the problem here. And they need to use Josh Palmer as Josh Palmer, not as Keenan Allen.
It's one thing. It's one thing for us to see Palmer putting on these like really impressive routes in the preseason.
Yeah.
Like the problem is he doesn't understand in the game where to sit it down. He doesn't quite know how to. How many times in that game, in the Chiefs game, did you go, oh shit, Keenan, you're just going to go sit it down right here in the open soft part of the zone and pick up 8, 9, 10 yards? Because he's been doing it forever, and Herbert trusts him. When Herbert's trying to throw those balls to Palmer, he's like jumping and moving a little bit to the left, and the Palmer's throwing his hand out behind him because he just doesn't get there, turn around, present the big target. I know what I'm going to do, catch the ball upfield 5, 6 yards.
So simple, but it takes a lot of playing football to get that timing. When you play a lot of football with Philip Rivers, it probably helps a little too, because Rivers probably did some coaching for Keenan early in his career. Like, hey, I want you to end up in that spot. What, he's talking about me? Are you talking about me, or are you talking about the other Mike? That's what I thought too when I first read that comment.
Both Mike should have sat out.
None of us should have played in that game. But let's get on to our keys here, Tony. I got about 10 more minutes. Keys to victory for you. In your mind, what do you think are the most important things here to come out away victorious against the Arizona Cardinals? And in my opinion, the next 2 weeks are must win. And then we can see where we're at in the playoff picture from there. It almost feels like every game is must win, but we got to really establish that we're even in the race first.
No, there's no question. Like, if they lose to these two teams in the next 2 weeks, it's going to get real loud about talking about firing. And who knows whether or not Spams will do that. I'm going to give the key to victory, and then I'm going to give the player, whatever we do. Like a player, like a bold prediction, which is going to be wild. And people are going to be like, you're an idiot. Don't say that out loud.
Leave y'all's in the chat. Leave y'all's bold prediction, the keys to victories in the chat now. We'll read them.
Key to victory, Mike. First quarter defense has to come out and just smash this team. They have to leave them being confused. There cannot be a breakdown in anything where, like, oh, Hollywood Brown catches a 70-yard touchdown. Welcome back, Hollywood. There can't be any of that shit. You cannot let – the Cardinals are in such disarray right now. This is literally kicking somebody while they're down. You have Kyler bickering with DeAndre and bickering with Cliff. I want to see a full-on soap opera by the end of the first quarter where Kyler's smashing his helmet because he's already thrown an interception and he's already been sacked a couple of times, and his guys are getting frustrated, and now you're seeing drop balls by backup tight ends. It's like James Conner is the only thing that's getting effective, but there's a missed assignment and it ends up getting stuffed on a 4th down turnover. Like, it has to come out right away defensively and just say, like, you thought that you were gonna get this 29th ranked defense and you were gonna be able to get something going in the right direction for a team that's in disarray, and that's not gonna happen. And here's my bold prediction for a player. I'm going to the defensive side of the ball. I listened to Ronaldo Hill talk about how they've been getting JT Woods involved more and more and more. Kyler has a tendency to throw these like big kind of lofty deep balls, which he hasn't been throwing a lot of this year. And if they can get pressure, JT Woods is going to flash that 4.3 speed that we talked about and how happy we were because Nas is banged up and they've been getting him more in there. And if let's say it's a safety on safety, just crime. Derwin's comes on a blitz on third down, and Kyler does one of those kind of spinning out throws where it just goes up over the top, it floats up, and then JT just goes and gets the ball. JT Woods gets his first interception of the season. And it's exciting. And I'm saying first quarter, I'm gonna go. I'll not only does he get it, I'm calling the quarter. First quarter, JT Woods is getting an interception. And things are going to look wonderful
for the Chargers. I like that. And I like that you highlighted the defense side of the ball. I also think key to victory for me is Staley using Derwin James, especially with Zach Ertz out now, using Drew Tranquil, using Kenneth Murray, using Troy Reader, using everyone in the box to creatively control Kyler Murray's ability to extend these plays. These things are going to get broken down, and all of a sudden you're going to have guys running around trying to chase Marquise Brown and DeAndre Hopkins on extended plays if we let Kyler Murray make our defensive lineman look silly, which he will if we give him the opportunity to do it. I like to see us not necessarily send a bunch of blitzes, but maybe some timed blitzes or just aggressive QB spies where you coach Drew up already. Like, yes, you're a QB spy. You're covering this part of the field. But if this guy takes a step up field, you need to go get him before he gets into open space. Things like that. And being creative with it. Because if you just come up to the line, you just show them who's defending Kyler, Kyler will still make a miss. So you're gonna have to sneak it in. You're gonna have to use Derwin James, I think, in that part of the game at times as well, especially on big downs. And I think that keeping Kyler's ability to extend plays under control is the biggest thing for our defense. And then offensively, it's the same thing every week. Get the ball to the guys that win us football games. Get Austin Eckler going early in the game, which will open up Keenan Allen. We're going to have Gerald Everett back this week. No one's really talked about that too much. But that right there is just a huge boost back on offense. We're basically playing without a receiving tight end. Stone Smart ran a bunch of routes last week. So those are my two keys. And then a bold prediction, I think Austin Eckler's going off. I think 125 all-purpose, 3 touchdowns. Is that too crazy?
No, it's not.
I think he's going nuts.
It's not. I think so, too. We are about to see and should see a 7-game stretch from Justin Herbert where it's like, where the fuck has this guy, where has this type of play been all year? Was it injury? Was it coordinator? Was it receiver injuries? Like, no, we're going to see, I think we're going to see it. It's going to start this week where Herbert's throwing for 4 touchdowns this weekend.
Yeah, we should be able to get some good stuff going on offense. This is a week where this lead, if we get a lead, we should continue the gas pedal and open that thing up. We don't have a comfortable win this year yet. The only comfortables are comfortable losses where we've kept our starters in.
We don't have comfortable wins because we don't come out and act like we're winning the game at half. Like at halftime, we come out in the third quarter and we act like it's the final 48 seconds of the fourth quarter. We're like, we just need to pick up this 1 first down. Let's get 3 yards on first down and 3 yards on second.
How many third and ones and 3rd and 3s can we intentionally set ourselves up into stressful situations where we got our QB sneaking 4 times a game and twice in one drive? Yeah, some of that stuff was messy in the third quarter last week against the Chiefs. They got to get that corrected, and it's not going to get corrected. It really isn't until, either the offense is just so superhuman with talent that they just carry the bad coaching, or until the coaching changes. And unfortunately, in the form of a new person. I think that we got a chance to win this game, though, Tony. What's your score prediction?
Did you go through these comments real quick? I see a lot of keeping Murray in the pocket. Love the bold prediction. I'm with that 4 TD game.
Bruce, similar thing to me. Eckler and Allen combined for 5 touchdowns. This would be awesome. I would love this. These guys would be dancing if this happened.
That's crazy. My score is 34-22 Chargers.
There you go. I like that.
Yeah.
I was going to put a similar score out there. I think that we could win by 2 touchdowns. I'll say we hit 40. 42-25. Go Chargers. In order for my 3 or 4 touchdown thing for Eckler to come true, it's going to need to be a high scoring game. Got to stop the QB from running out of the pocket. Yep. Yeah. Keep Murray in the pocket. He's dangerous, man. And that's where he's good, is when he's extending plays. When you make him just stand there and throw, that's when he usually starts to make mistakes. Appreciate you guys for tuning in this week. Oh, we got a bomb TD to Josh Palmer again.
Love it.
That was so exciting to see in the stadium so early in the game, too. Me and Jay were freaking out. We'll see you guys next week. Got to beat these Cardinals, and then it's on to Raider week, which is always a ton of fun. We got to see what happens first against the Cardinals. Must win for the Bolts. Any last words, Tony, before I hit the button?
Don't F us, Lombardi.
Don't F us, Lombardi. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. We'll see you guys next week. I swear, Lombardi, we will be watching.